Today we're going to sit down with Mathieu Gallant. He owns and operates blackjack fishing out of Yellowknife. We're going to hear all about his past, his time in the Canadian military, transitioning out of that into civilian life and the difficulties with that, and how his experiences in the outdoors and with fishing were helpful for him through that transition. And then the decision that he made to come up north and start a business. Without further ado, let's get into it. Wicked. So welcome back to Breaking Ice. My name is Josh Ferguson. I'm your host, and today I'm here with Mathieu
Gallant.
Gallant?
Yes.
And kind of an interesting episode. Mathieu reached out to me about doing some work with him, but I've never met him before. So we're about to learn about Mathieu together. So let's just start with, give me a little bit about yourself and, what brought you up north, and then we can talk about your business and your upcoming summer and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So I grew up on the East Coast. That's why my accent comes from, basically. On the eastern part of Quebec City.
Yeah.
That's where I...
Just going to move this in a little bit.
Yeah. Right here?
Yeah, that's good.
Right on. So I grew up on the further east side of Quebec, about 7 hours from Quebec City. So I grew up there. Along the way, when I hit 18 years old, I decided to join the military. I spent just above 18 years. And then I released a few months ago, actually. So part of the transitioning out was to start my own business, and being outdoors was one of my... It's most important things for me. It's go outside as most as possible. So starting the business to me was a transition out of the military. I basically come up with something that works perfectly for me as per being outside, fishing. Fishing has been a big part of me growing up too. So I decided to launch blackjack fishing.
Nice. So how long have you been... You just recently finished your service?
Correct, yeah.
And then this is how long have you been running blackjack?
It's been 2 years.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been 2 years. I was doing some guiding. I've been in the north, first of all, for just above 5 years. I've been posted here with the military, working with the Canadian Rangers. So I was a ranger instructor for just over 4.5 years. So I visit the whole Yukon, Northwest Territories, Nunavut. Meet a lot of Indigenous leaders, meet a lot of person that are now my friends throughout the north, through all the 3 territories.
So you were living in Eastern Quebec up until you were
until I hit 18 years old and I was eligible to join the military.
And then you spent most of your time up north just in the military?
No, I spent the big majority, I'll say, just over... Well, I got posted a few times in between. So I originally spent just over 7 years in Quebec City. And then within that 5 to 7 years, there was a lot of deployment overseas. Mm-hmm. And then upon return, had the option to move a little bit closer to family. So I moved to Gagetown, New Brunswick.
Okay.
And from there, I spent from 2013 up to 2018, I believe. I was down there doing instruction for new recruits as part of my trade. So I was doing teaching for new recruits. And then I was looking for a place to come up north as part of the military. It's very difficult. There's not a ton of positions. So
was your transition up north, was that like your desire to come up north?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I needed a break from the big military system. But still being within the military, and I knew few people that made the posting in Yellowknife, and they told me how interesting it was. It's something very unconventional that you used to do in the military, traveling on your own, come up with training plan on your own to help the Rangers being leader in their communities, reacting to any either search and rescue situation
Sure.
or just during COVID, for example, there's a lot of rangers involved in helping the communities and elders. So that was part of it.
And so when you decided that you wanted to come up north, what was it about like coming up north that was so interesting to you?
It was the wilderness for sure. Like I knew Yellowknife was not typical north, being the capital Northwest Territory.
Sure.
But like when you dream about like wilderness, like untouched, pristine water, you're looking at mountain, you're looking at clear, crystal clear waters, and this is something you barely can just get up north, right? And it's the less information you have on location, most of the time that's where the nicest things you'll see in your life. So that's kind of why it was the unknown, it was the adventure, and at that time it was, I wouldn't say a dark place in my life, but it was a difficult time coming back from overseas. You have hard time to adjust to somehow day-to-day living. You still have habit that you work on or try to be better, like socially and stuff like this. So coming up north was a big decision, because at one point when you went for my trade, like just to start from the beginning, like my trade being armor, so I spent my whole career maneuvering with tanks or light armor vehicles. So as you probably know, there's not a ton of those up in the north, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So it's a very, like I say, unconventional posting for a combat armed soldier to come up here. So it kind of put a big halt on your career.
Sure.
So it's the people that are coming up here, they're either been told or are willing to come. So that's why when you have soldiers up here, they're most of the time the best of the best that are willing to sacrifice their career for a bit and to come up here and experience the north and really like glue with the communities.
So the decision to come up north was after you spent time overseas, and you were talking about kind of there being a healing process that you were going through. Does going up north kind of correlate to you coming out of that healing process, or is it a big part of it?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Now with a step back, it looks like a healing process.
Sure.
Initially, it was more like an escape route.
Well, often those can be one and the same, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was an interesting process that I've been through when I decided to come up. Like, at first, I was asking my career manager for so many years to come up, and just after Christmas 2018, I believe, I got an email saying, "Oh, it's not going to be for a couple of years." So I start doing home renovation, and then a few weeks after, got another email say, "Hey, get your stuff ready because I managed to get you a spot up there." So it was a big turnaround point. A lot of stress involved, posting from literally across Canada.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of logistic involved, but I'm glad I did it. It opened so many doors, and I would probably never start that business if that was a risk that I was willing to take at that time.
I'd like to go back and talk about you returning from overseas a little bit, if you're open to it.
Absolutely.
It's interesting to me because obviously it's something that a lot of people experience, like coming back from that environment and then transitioning back to like day-to-day life and the difficulties in that. And I guess my question is one of the main difficulties is that you were so much a part of like a group with a purpose, and like there was so much camaraderie and community, and then when you came home, it's not all there for you in the same way.
Yeah, there's a lot of peace involved, I feel like, in the way people heal or come back from there. The fact that you spend years training with the same group of people, you get really tight together. While you deploy, you're like, for myself, for example, like same 4 guys were together for 9.5 months.
Yeah.
So you know everything about their life, and then time goes on, return back to Canada. One guy's going to be posted somewhere cross country. The other guy's going to move on position. It kind of dissolved the group.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it wasn't too bad until I realized, like, well, where's that guy? Like, I didn't hear from him in a long time. Do some research, from phone call, text, and oh no, it just quit. Like, he can keep on going. So you just start seeing like people like leaving for either injuries, mental health, and the list goes on and on. Like, that's one of the things that I noticed that was not a big step to overcome, but just something that I start seeing more and more. But I'll say what been for me the worst was to not make the difference, being able to make the difference between what happened over there and when you come back. Like, normal situation, just like driving, you get on a high, on overwatch all the time. Like, you're hyper vigilant on a day-to-day basis, and then overnight you're now back in Canada.
Totally.
So
that's a really different experience.
Yeah. Without being like crazy or like hiding behind the couch or stuff like this, those are all like little stuff that you wouldn't normally do. Just like you go to a restaurant, like, I'm always gonna sit my back against the wall. I need to see where people's at and where people are coming from. Just little stuff like this, but it gets harder and harder because you change your way of acting with people socially or personally on so many factors that it gets exhausting, and you get exhausting thinking about it, and then it becomes in your head more and more, and then you're like, okay, well,
because you're focusing on not behaving the way that you're expecting to behave.
Exactly. Like, to me, that was a big thing. It was like, okay, I need to breathe when I go to the restaurant. Like, I should be able to sit there. Like, I'm not nervous.
Yeah.
It's just like a second thought. Always coming back. So,
and did that just kind of like over the years slow down?
No, for my case, it increased quite a bit.
Okay.
And then it's just a year ago where I start seeing progress, talking to professional, and it's something in the military. Everybody's,
well, they're no stranger.
But they won't yell that on their doorstep that they're talking to a professional to help them. Like, a lot of people, it's kind of I don't have the
taboo.
Yeah, taboo to talk about that. It's getting more advertised to ask and seek for help.
But is the idea or not overt idea, but the way people think about it, it's like, oh, like, you should just be able to deal with it. Like, if you need help, you're weak or something like that. That's just
yeah. Like, I like there's a lot of person that I know that they've been through a lot, and I don't consider myself as having as much trouble as they have. And thank God I feel very lucky about it. But it's some people will never ask for help, and that's the saddest part about it. But I was lucky enough. I had people around me that helped me along the way, and I became more and more involved in fishing, fly fishing, being on the water, being outdoor. Those are kind of activities that helped me quite a bit. So,
well, it's interesting. In my last interview, we were talking about the therapeutic effects when it comes to addictions, about being on the land. Yeah,
and there's surprisingly, there's a lot of documentary, movie, books about the therapeutic effect on people with stress injuries. While being outside, fly fishing especially, just because
it's rhythmic.
There's a rhythm there, and then you it's like driving manual. Like, when you drive an automatic vehicle, you just focus on the road, you don't even think. But when you drive manual, you do movement that your body, like, it's just used to. So it kind of melt good with somebody that have a lot of thought or
so if you had to kind of break down your healing process, or whatever, lack of a better way to say it, in terms of like therapy and fly fishing and just spending time outside, like
Yeah.
how much of each do you think was so like valuable for you, or kind of speak to that in
Yeah,
terms of,
I
did you
mean-
talk about fly fishing and therapy? Like
No, it's well, I say, like I grew up. I was into fishing, not intense. I was just, we'll do a fishing trip here and there.
Yeah. It's a thing to do.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
more like go with a couple friends, and you go for a weekend or stuff like this. And then it's a good friend of mine that actually introduced me to fly fishing. Let's say probably like 10 or 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of just, the first fish I caught on the fly fishing rod, it feel like my life changed. That's how I feel. I was like, I can't believe like the happiness that it provides me. Even though I didn't know what to do, like I had that fish at the end of the line. I'm like, okay, so what's next? Like, how do I bring that thing
I'm
back
unprepared.
up, right? So, but yeah, like he introduced me to that, and then since then I get into fly tyings. Like I spend monies like no tomorrow ordering stuff to tie fly
String and
yeah, and I look at myself sometimes with like 2-3 in the morning on a Friday, just tying fly like an old man, because that's what I used to. Like when you think about fly fishing and people tying fly, you think about like 60, like a retired person that just like with
Yeah.
his glasses and just like
Totally.
slowly make it. But yeah, it's like partying and stuff like that kind of disappeared from my life from there, and I became more I don't know, just focusing on what was helping me.
Mm-hmm.
And slowly start noticing that the military wasn't for me anymore for ethical value or the way things are changing in the world. I wasn't seeing myself doing that anymore. And it was a good window that opened up, being in the north, access to such like crazy land, to fishing or hunting. Like everything is there. If you're willing to put the effort to start a business, and it's endless.
Yeah. So you started Blackjack. Did you buy the charter from someone else, like
No,
the fish?
I started everything from scratch. Like I had zero clue how to start a business. I did research online. I read a few books, listened to podcasts, and then one day I walk into the lawyer office. I'm like, sign me up for this name. I want incorporation. I want the whole thing legit. And then from there, it just snowball effect. Like,
That's awesome.
yeah, like talk to graphists in Yellowknife to come up with a logo, and then the tourist industry for all the permit and license, and then Transport Canada, the whole 9 yard. Like I didn't cut any corner on permit or whatever. Like that's my whole retirement plan. That's my whole life. It's what helps me transitioning out of the military. So I want cut corners on.
You want to do it right.
I want to do it 100% right, 100% legit. If anything bad happen, we'll have a backup plan type of deal.
Sure.
So
That's awesome. And it's been going well?
well, it's going well. Like before we even started, I was doing guiding here and there. I was taking my summer vacation, guiding people from Quebec, a few people from France, just like word them out basically. And when I put it on social media, basically, when I come up with the fishing charter, phones start ringing, emails start coming in, and then we did our first season last year was interrupted because of the wildfire.
Oh, yeah.
It was going pretty good, but then we have to stop at that point, early August, I believe. But 2024, we were at the show in Moncton for fly fishing and boat show, and we booked our last opening for 2024. So we're fully booked all season, and we even have some 2025 bookings.
Are you excited for the upcoming season?
Yeah, really excited. And then I know it's probably climate change realities, what's going on right now, that it's so warm and we don't have much ice this year.
Sure.
But I'm really excited because there's a lot coming up. There's a lot of things that I need to improve campsite wise, installation on the boat, like good inspection, everything needs to get done. But
so walk me through a day for a client. Like if I were to sign up for fly fishing, what should I expect?
So what we do, we do fly fishing, we do normal conventional fishing too. We do it all. Like somebody wants to come up and troll for 5 days, we're set up for. Basically what I offer for now, and that might change eventually as the business expand or start growing up even more, but we offer so it's a Monday to Saturday fishing trip.
6 days?
Yeah.
And
basically the Saturdays are turnaround, logistical, rebomb, resupply, whatever you call it. And then so basically clients come up either on the Sunday night or the Monday morning.
Yeah.
And from there, they're taken care of the whole way. We'll pick them up at the airport, shuttle to the dock, and then from there, we have two packages. We have lake trout, which is in the east arm, and we have northern pike, which is in the north arm of Great Slave Lake. So whether they decide to go for one species or the other, we have outpost camp with McPherson wall tent, set it up. So yeah, like if they're coming, let's say for northern pike, which start in June, that's going to be opening on June 10. Usually after day one, clients are like, we need breaks. Yeah, because we're fishing the just the post spawning, so we fish super shallow. We fish area where fish hang for spawning, and they just start recovering from that. And fish above 40 inch, you're gonna catch probably 24 of those.
That's exhausting.
Per angler. Like if you're a good angler and your line's in the water more than you're talking, let's say, you can catch a lot of fish.
Why didn't I catch any fish? Well, you talked for 2 days.
Yeah, no, exactly. But it's like you have all kind of clients. Like you have clients that are coming up and their dream fish, their dream northern pike is 40 inch because it's the trophy mark.
Sure.
Anywhere in the world is 40 inch, and most of the time it will happen the first 1 or 2 hours, and then from there it's just keep going up, right? Like the first fish, 40, let's say 41 incher, they'll take a picture, they'll be super happy. By Saturday morning, they'll have a 41, 42. They'll be like, I'll just put it back in the water. I know it sounds cocky, and it's something that I need to tell myself, like, don't talk like this because fishing's still fishing.
Sure.
But there's no other way that I know to advertise the craziness of fishing on Great Slave Lake. It's like I travel a little bit for fishing and for work related in my life, and I've never been to a location fishing where, let's say after 48 hours, you're like, okay, well, if the trip ends now, it's going to be like trip of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Either for the scenery, the fishery, or like it's indescribable.
So if someone goes for lake trout,
for lake trout, I'll say it's almost similar. Like we're just south of Eaton Island, where the limit for the national park set.
Yeah.
So we don't require the special permit. It's just our outfitter license that allows us to go up there. We have there's one tent set up right now. We need to go set up the other one because we had to change location last year due to low water level. Same thing. Basically, the only thing that changed is we have it's going to be anywhere between a 3.5 to 4.5 hours boat ride to get there.
Okay.
Versus clients that decide to go in the North Arm for pike. You're looking for North Arm, it's about 35 to 40 minutes depending on the weather.
You could come back to town easy.
Yeah, if somebody needs to forget something, or you need like a resupply, like emergency, whatever situation it is, it's super fast. But East Arm is far away, and we're quite deep into it. So,
do you personally have a preference to fish lake trout or pike?
Well, I'll say pike was what made the business known like internationally right now.
Well, your logo's a pike too, eh?
Yeah, that's what make us, like I say, put on the scene, like I should say. But now, since we found that new location for the lake trout, it's out of the chart. There's going to be a lot of stuff this year for lake trout on social media, because we don't advertise much for this yet. We're still waiting on finding location where clients can catch giant lake trout with fly rods. We don't need to troll for them. We don't need to fish 150 feet deep. We have lake trout in 5 to 10 feet of water, and they grow up to 40, 45 inch. So we're talking about lake trout in the 35 to 45 pounds.
So I don't really know much about fishing, but like, are you guys eating these fish, or?
We do catch and release 99.9% of the time. The only time we'll keep a fish if badly hooked, let's say swallow the hook really bad, the fish just keep bleeding, we'll not put it back in the water. We'll keep it, and we'll utilize that for a shore lunch, or we'll smoke some fish in the evening, or like we'll use the fish like wisely. But we catch and release everything. Yeah,
that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So how many trips are you doing this summer? How many, like you said, you're fully booked, but like how many people is that? How many trips is that?
So we take for this season, I was I'll start by saying 2025 we'll be operating myself and another guide full time.
Okay.
So we'll run 2 groups of maximum of 3 people per groups, or a total of 6 people for the whole weeks. So if you're coming with a group, you want to come with 5 people, you're looking for dates, we'll lock you for the whole 6 days by yourself. So it's going to be your whole group. If you're coming and you're less than 3, it's possible there's a second group that will be there. But you guys don't share accommodation. You don't share boats.
Yeah. You're just in the same place.
Just in the same place for meal and entertaining at the night. Like
evening, like it's nicer to have more people.
Yeah. And then, it's 6 people maximum, or 2 group of 3, 2 different boat. We have boats specially designed for the North Arm, super shallow, like
jet boats.
It's not a jet boat. It's an outboard, but it's on a jack plate, so you can really crank it up without scraping the bottom. Basically, we have electric trolling motor up front to like
do really specific movements.
Yeah, go really deep. Like we like I say, we fish in a foot and a half, sometimes 2 feet of water. Fish are all stacked up there.
And you can see the fish, obviously. If it's
Last 2 years ago, I grabbed one with my hands, just sneaking on him and grab it by the tail. Like they're coming out of spawning. It's a very different and unique things, because the Northwest Territory, I believe, is one of, maybe except Yukon, that don't have closure on northern pike throughout the season because of the spawning. And it's the same for lake trout. They don't necessarily close. Like your fishing license goes from whenever you buy it until March 31st. But then on April 1st, you can go and renew it. Like it's open year long. But they don't put restriction on the spawning period for lake trout or northern pike. So up here,
is it because there's so many fish, or?
It could be. My thought process is more like the environmental aspect is the fact that the water here is so cold, versus if you're talking about on like southern part of Ontario, where after the spawning it takes maybe a couple days and the water will hit 70 Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
So it gets really, really warm fast, versus here, even in the middle of August, after a full summer without rain, it'll still be like 62, 63.
Yeah.
So for recovery, it's a lot faster.
For the fish?
For the fish.
I see.
Yeah. So that's my thought about it.
Yeah.
That's how I can see it. And the pressure, like there's where we go. Like I spent 3 years fishing a specific location for northern pike, and I've never seen a boat there. So like I've caught fish that I caught the year before.
Yeah.
And I know because I take picture when they're so big. You take a picture of it, and then the year after, you're like that fish remind me something like maybe like a scar on his face,
Yeah.
or like a
Some kind of
specific
feature.
on his So you can look at the two picture and say, so catch and release actually work, but it's something to take in consideration. Like fish are pretty beat up when they're coming up with spawning because they're really aggressive. They're gonna fight each other. It's pretty rough for them. So if you don't go ahead with a proper catch and release system, you're gonna release the fish and then flip upside down right away.
Yeah.
So you need to be really careful. I don't hold fish in the boat like badly held. It's in a huge net. Like fish doesn't bang on the side of the boat. It's easy out, picture, back in the net. When it starts kicking again, just flip the net. It's like minimal touching of the fish.
Yeah, you guys have a system.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So is there a lot of fishing charters in Yellowknife? Like, you know?
There's few. I can think of probably 2 or 3.
Okay. But it seems like such incredible fishing. Like, is it surprising how few fishing charters there are?
Yeah, but I feel like more and more people are looking into that because it's not everybody that really wants to, like, let's say for us, like somebody who wants to go for 2 days of northern pike, we'll make his package work so he can see 2 days of pike and then go in the East Arm after.
Sure.
Like we can mold the package for the client. It's not like rock solid, like you're coming this day, you're leaving that day, and don't ask us for.
This is the advantage of small
right?
business.
Yeah, and then like we offer like midnight sun package. So somebody who's coming up in June, it's a 2-for-1 package basically because you're able to fish 24/7. Like there's an hour of darkness, so there's fees for that attached to this, but it's very minimal since you're already there. It's almost worth it. But it's something that people really like. And then the spawning season for lake trout is in the fall, and we close the season on August 1st.
For pike or for your
lake trout? We close the season no matter what, October 1st, but it lines up with the lake trout spawning like the whole September.
Okay.
So you have the same type of fishery for lake trout. So you're catching lake trout in 2 feet of water. You're talking about big specimen too. Like it's not schoolies that you're gonna catch all day jigging or trolling. Those are monster fish. So that's gonna be the first year bringing clients to that location. It's a spot that I fish a lot of times, but it was so far away that I had to purchase another boat in order to get the transition from Yellowknife in and out more comfortable for clients. So we purchased last year a 25 and a half foot Kingfisher.
Oh yeah, okay.
So
that's exciting.
Yeah, like it's a full enclosed cabin, heater, like it's.
Yeah, because it could be whatever weather or anything.
Yeah, it's still, you still limit from like, let's say at 30 miles an hour or 30 knots south wind. It's pretty bad to be on the lake, especially going in the East Arm. But it's a lot more comfortable, and safety wise, it can take a lot more. It can take a lot more gear, and that was a big thing too. Like you're heading up there for 5 days. You're gonna do a lot of traveling in between to different spots.
Yeah, you need gas. You need
gas, food. Like it gets heavy pretty fast.
Yeah.
So a bigger boat was a no-brainer. So
do you have any staff this summer or?
Yeah.
I had to get a guide as coming up, a guide that guides quite a bit in like Lamart and Wati. Guide there for a few years and then start his own business. But I reached out to him quite a bit long time ago to have it this summer during the peak for Northern Pike. Because like I said, the pike is eye on demand apparently. So people wants to go pike fishing a lot. So I was able to get it for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So him and I will have a group each for a full month, and then after that I'm gonna be going on my own.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a staff in Yellowknife that do all the resupply for me, the picking up of the clients, doing the shuttle back and forth from
Yeah,
there.
that would be too much to kind of like do the transition from
Yeah.
fishing.
So, yeah.
And then you're saying next summer, all summer.
Next summer, all summer, I'm gonna have a full guide, full time. So that's gonna
Nice. So what's the, you know, if you were to look 5 years down the road, and what does blackjack fishing look like?
I don't wanna go too far too fast.
3 years.
Yeah, but yeah. It's still. I'm more like the a year in advance forecast.
Okay.
I don't wanna. I have a vision. I don't talk about it too much
Fair
because I like to take pride in what I'm doing. So when things doesn't necessarily go the way I have in my head, I get a little bit frustrated with myself. So I try to keep my expectation. I wouldn't say low, but just
Tempered.
realistic.
Yeah.
I can say that about a week and a half ago, we signed a contract with Daiwa Fishing USA. So it's a big fishing brand. There's 2 more company. I'm not allowed to talk yet, but it's pretty big name in the industry for fishing or hunting, coming out the US. So you guys can start digging around, but it should come soon, like the next week or so.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, they're supposed to send some of their staff in September because they book a full week in September to come and do equipment trials.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a business. Just to give a little heads up, it's not a heads up but a hint. It's a fishing, not a fishing. I need to choose my word.
Well, you don't have to give a hint.
It's a brand that do a lot of electronics.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's a brand that do a lot of electronics for boat or for whatever. You guys can figure it out. But
So coming out of your time in the military and now, you know, running this business.
Yeah.
Is it like a dream come true? Like how do you feel every day when you spend your time out there with clients?
Some days it's I don't know. Well, you're a business owner too. Like I'm assuming it's the same. Like you feel like you have something attached to you that it's like mold to your end, and it's a matter of keep pushing. Like I never thought having a business would have been easy, but I thought it was more. I wouldn't say harder, but I feel like it might be because people open business with the mindset of making money, or for me it was a business, starting up my business about like what I'm passionate about, and more like no option B. It was that or nothing. So yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's hard to believe, but when I woke up in the morning, it's a total different feeling than wearing the uniform.
Sure.
I should say.
That
not
makes
that I
sense.
wasn't proud of wearing the uniform, but it's more.
Well, it's a really different thing.
Yeah, like you represent like some values that you either not you agree with. You have to go along and follow them and apply them. Versus when you create your own set of rules, where it should be easier. Right?
Yeah, you get to kind of help shape the culture of blackjack fishing.
Yeah, and then it's the people that I'm looking to hire will always be the same kind of people, like somebody that if I'm not there, I know 100% I can't trust with I would say like my life.
Yeah,
because that's
what it is.
What it is. So yeah, it's a good feeling for sure.
So do you have family and whatnot that go like, dude, what are you doing up there? Like do people are like surprised that you're still up here? Like, how does the rest of your family look at your time in the North?
I feel like they take it quite a bit well. They know I'm happy now. I think for them that's all that matter.
Yeah.
It was hard because most of my time here has been either releasing from the military, which was quite an adventure emotionally for me, and then from there, if we just scroll back a few years ago, it was COVID. It was very difficult to travel. So yeah, like my parent, I saw them once in 5 years.
Yeah.
and it
That's
was
kinda tough.
pretty short. It was a short week, in and out, nothing too crazy. So, yeah, it's far away. Like I'm not lying. It's Northwest Territory is a hike. If you're coming up from Quebec City or the East Coast,
Absolutely.
it's a few flight, few layover. And traveling isn't getting easier these days. So.
No. My family lives in Mexico.
Okay.
And same kind of thing. Like, one thing that I thought was interesting is when we came up and decided to move up here, they were like, yeah, go. Because, like, when I was 9, we moved to Mexico from Toronto.
Yeah.
And it was, so, like, that kind of, like, up and move somewhere new isn't strange for my family. So when we said that we were going to go to Norman Wells, they were like, yeah, go on an adventure.
Yeah.
And like, I was already living in Canada and they were in Mexico and they're still in Mexico. So we already had a long distance relationship.
Yeah.
And it's easier with technology and things like that for sure. But regardless, like, they've never been here and they're coming this August, but we're so excited to have them here. But it's, I do understand the, like, I don't really have anyone up here other than
yeah,
like,
yeah. It could be a hard time for sure if you're somebody that isolate yourself quite a bit or not very into outdoors.
yeah.
And I believe like most people that come and go or people that are having a hard time.
Yeah. Well, I agree.
Adapting
Like,
to this.
Winters can be tough, but if you're not spending time outside, they're extremely hard.
Yeah.
You gotta take the opportunity to take advantage of what is there for you.
Exactly.
And so in the winters, what do you do? Do you?
That's gonna be a discussion I'll have with myself. I think coming up. I don't know exactly. Like I like to travel for sure for fishing. So I'll try to maybe find something along the way that I can tag along with blackjack fishing or I'm not saying we're gonna do stuff overseas or on the beach somewhere. It's still gonna be Great Slave Lake, but if I can travel and go see how other outfitters are doing, try to adapt it to my vision and just take a lot of knowledge from left and right.
Is the model that you can kind of like earn enough money throughout the summer, since it's so much work, that you can kind of like relax a little bit through the winter and prepare for the next season?
Yeah, like I wouldn't say like it's a business that doesn't need to be tweaked a little bit to be more financially stable to spend a northern winter. We have quite of a
7
long,
months.
so it's like a 4-month season where I need to be financially able to put money on the side for but it's
and have you thought of guiding ice fishing or
maybe, but there's a lot involved. Like it's the transportation became a big problem.
You need like way different machines.
Yeah, but even snow machine, like the moment somebody is paying for transportation, you need Transport Canada certificate or license.
I see.
Like even if you're renting a snow machine for people to hop on it and follow you, that machine needs to be
certified.
And I would say it's possible. I have few ideas of how I can make something like that happen, but it's also when I start blackjack fishing, it was about the craziness of fishing. And I don't know if you've been ice fishing before, but you can have slow day.
For sure.
You can have days
it's
where it's
a really
gonna be
different
one
thing.
bite, and if you do something wrong, it's gone. It might never come back. So it could be a 2 or 3 fish a week. They're gonna be big because I got an idea where to go for accessing.
But it's not like 2 hours.
Yeah,
you
it's
get the
not
big
like
fish.
crazy action all day, and that's kind of what I keep my mindset to. Like I've been to place where I fish all week and I didn't have a bite. So it was a nice place, great staff, great lodge, like everything was fine, food, but no fish.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, let's slow down a little bit on the accommodation and the food. Make sure it's still within the okay, but don't compromise the fishing. There's different views on that. People try to go too big too fast. They try to have the best of both world, and then they shut themselves in the foot because it's either not accessible or very expensive.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I would love to have a 3-story lodge, log home type style, but for now it's not the plan. We want to keep it more austere, more remote.
Well, you can be more nimble too. You can be like, hey, we're going to fish this season, or
Yeah.
we're going to be over here.
Yeah.
And you can kind of move around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, because we like we're not stupid. We're seeing how the climate's changing. Like the water is just getting lower and lower. Maybe we'll be lucky it's gonna go up back again, but I like the fact that it's easy to move. If for whatever reason we're getting too many people start to open up a business in the same area, let's say, we're not stepping on each other. I can still collapse my stuff and go somewhere else.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so have you?
And the thing is, like, we don't want to have a footprint on the land. We try to keep it as, like when we find a campsite that we decide we're gonna use for 2 seasons, let's say, it's a place where you don't need to cut wood to make a tent frame. You don't need to, like change the way you.
Yeah, what's the landscape on? Is it like Canadian Shield, like sloping rocks, or is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot more marshy in the
Okay.
North Arm, so campsites are really difficult to get. We have an island where I actually have my personal cabin there, and I use the just outside of the survey. In the backside of it, there's a nice flat surface. Nobody goes on that island because my personal cabin is there. Yeah, that's what we use for the North Arm. I don't think that one will change either. It's gonna be pretty long term, I think.
North Arm is the pike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The East Arm is totally different. Like
It's way more of an adventure in some ways.
oh yeah, it's like I'm telling you, like it's hard to describe. It's hard to find a place where you can shore your boat without getting damaged, because like you probably see or heard, like the East Arm is just rocks
Yeah.
everywhere, and the shorelines is rocks, and it's when there's a beach somewhere, if you go there on a Saturday, there's going to be a bunch of boat lined up because people know about those. They talk about it. Hey, that's a good campsite. You should go there. And then you show up, and then there's not even a place to anchor your boat.
Yeah.
On the shoreline. So, and I didn't want to fish where there's boat. I wanted to offer like really remote feel. So when I found that spot, it took 2 years
Yeah, fair enough.
to find that spot, and
Well, it's worth it to put in the work to have the thing
I
that you
found
want to
that
have.
spot, and it's from what I can see, either if the weather's still going down, like looks like it might still go, or if it goes up, we're covered. Like it's a long beach, like on almost 270 degrees. It's away from the wind. The south view you have when you woke up in the morning is about 300 feet cliff, with a beach on the west side. So it's a pretty amazing view.
Have you ever thought of like marrying your two worlds, like doing like fishing charter trips that are like rehabilitation programs for soldiers?
I thought about it. I know there's an outfitters that have a lodge currently in the East Arm that do those kind of trip, and to me, when I started that business was to close a chapter on the military background that I have. I'm not saying that I want either maybe one day offer like a trip for a veteran or like a retreat for a couple of days or this or that, or financially supporting an organization related to the military. But for now, it's not the plan.
You're carving out your own identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that we're ashamed of. That's not that we're not agree with any political views or whatever.
Sure.
It's strictly just
It's a personal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's other outfitters that do that, and I don't feel like try to take away clienteles or
Yeah.
stuff like that is the best way to operate in the small communities. So
No, that makes
I
sense.
I kind of appreciate and respect the fact that they're doing that currently, and it's amazing. Like if I knew there was lodge like that growing up in the military, I would for sure book. But it's what it is.
Yeah, I was just thinking about like,
We're looking at something in the same alley of helping, but more for Yellowknife, for the communities.
yeah.
Something for homeless people, and there's something that I'm looking at putting more time and effort into talking to the right people, make sure because it will be to a donation. I don't know how to say that, but
Like a program that people can support or whatnot. They
yeah,
can
it will
contribute
be
in
more like a financial support more than having people to come over. It's simply because it's a 1.2, 1.5 men business, right?
Yeah,
So
it's still small.
It's still small, and it's for now. There's no point of having too much people involved. I am still in the molding the right way, so then when it goes out of control, there's
You have the
people.
foundation, appropriate foundation for it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and then so I'm looking at stuff with to help like the homeless situation in Yellowknife a little bit.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I was just thinking like, I think every person is so unique and so interesting.
yeah,
And you kind of like come to where you are in such a different way. And that's one of the things I like doing a podcast is in terms of just like getting to know people and hearing those stories. And I think humans are such like story creatures. Like we talk about in stories so much. And there's definitely part of your story that someone in your shoes, maybe 15 years ago or whatnot, can be like,
yeah.
oh, that might help me.
For sure, and like there's a lot of place where they're gonna find like the owner identity, and that's all he's gonna look after, right? So like for myself, I could literally just seek all the veteran. Hey, do you want to work? Do you want to? The same roots are there.
Yeah.
But in the same time, you kind of put heart behind where you can see. There could be different people from any other background that can come up and help you to bring
Sometimes
more.
it's better.
Yeah. Well, because it brings a different perspective.
Totally.
Like the military mindset it's pretty good. It works.
Yeah, for certain things.
For certain things, right? if you start yelling at 5 a.m. to your clients because you feel you're late fishing, it's not gonna go, right?
Yeah, do you ever have that where you're like dying to get going?
It never like it was bothering me because I know clients were missing on probably like a biting window that was quite interesting. But it's still what they pay for, and I'm there to put them on fish and make their staying quite comfortable. So, but it's.
Have you had friendships develop from clientele that you keep in touch with?
Yeah, I'll say pretty much all of them. Like it's people that came last year. I have 3 groups that are coming again this year. Like
awesome.
When they were there, they book right away. They give the deposit to make sure.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, and it's not something that I can't do all the time because I can't limit myself. I'm like, all right, like you're coming every year from that day to that, no matter what, right? So it's still a business, and it needs to be.
You need to give people opportunities.
Yeah.
The that
exposure, and then they're pretty good person. Like I would share any availability with them as much as possible. But if it's always the same people, the exposure get lower and lower and lower. So And
Well, and
it's,
also
it's part
like,
of growing
I
up
spent
a
years
business.
guiding
Yeah.
canoe trips,
Yeah.
and you kind of like fall in love with the people you're with
Yeah.
for a trip, right? But then like the next trip, you're like, oh, these people are so cool as well. You know what I mean? So you really want to experience as much as possible, and the more people that you can bring in and help have that experience, I think that's
Yeah, and people come
fantastic.
from they're not part of the business. They're coming up for service,
Uh-huh.
but they like you spend a lot of hours in the boat with the same
Yeah.
2 or 3 people. So you share a lot of stuff from your life, from your past, and it's the same for them. And sometimes that's all they want. So you became in years for them to share
Totally.
their story that they might not feel comfortable to talk at home, or
Yeah.
like you hear all kind of stories, and it's what I like.
Yeah. Well, okay. So if you were to kind of speak to clients right now and,
Yeah.
and talk, and if someone's thinking about booking a charter or whatnot, like give them the lowdown. Like what why should they book with you?
Big fish. Big fish is it's probably the right words. Like I personally been through a lot with my military experience, so the safety aspect is when I started business, and I mentioned that straight from the beginning. Like we didn't cut corners on anything. First aid instructor, wilderness first aid qualified, marine first aid, small vessel operator, all the course that it's available, I take them. And it's the same for guys that are coming to work with me. I force them on course to be like small vessel operators. So it's not just, oh, you know how that tiller boat works? Yeah, let's go in there and bring those 3 guys. Like people are qualified. And not only qualified to operate the boat, but to like take care of people if there's a bad situation that happened.
Yeah. So you want good service, you want happy guides, you want
I want friendly guide that are able to talk with all kind of people, because you can have a people that are coming just to take it down for a couple of weeks. They don't want to talk to too much about personal feeling or past experience. They just want fish, and your job as a guide is to unhook every fish and put them back in the water. But you have people that are attacking 2-3 fish together, one after the other, and they just want to talk for half an hour, have a sandwich, relax, keep going all day. So yeah, that's if you're looking for big fish, professional guide. The boat that we're using is not typical lodge boat. Like all our boats are Kingfisher, 19 foot and above. It's 150 horse minimum. So we have boat and engines for big water. Every boat,
because you'll see big water on Great Slave.
Yeah, especially East Arm. Like the traveling from Yellowknife to the East Arm is it could be really bad. Like 6-7 foot waves is quite frequent.
So where can people reach you?
Instagram, Blackjack Fishing, or her website, blackjackfishing.ca. And all the informations are up there, how to contact us if people are willing to book. We have a calendar that it's there to show the availability. So currently we're having an issue with the format and the update.
Of your website?
Yeah, because it works on it works with 2 different platforms that talk to each other, and there's a bit of computing error in there, which is mainly my fault. So we're working on correcting that, but people will be able to see availabilities for 2025. But if there's people willing to book for 2024 that don't have a specific date, they can contact us and we can put them on like a call out list. So if we have cancellation, so usually people cancellations are within 30 days. So if somebody cancel this trip and I go down the list, You basically have a 30-day heads up for.
Yeah, so if you have a
opening.
free week this summer,
Yeah.
and you want to catch some monster pike or some monster lake trout,
Yeah.
reach out to Blackjack Fishing and get on the wait list.
Correct. Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it was really nice to sit down and
Yeah.
hear from you. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that you have such a unique background, and I think your business is sweet. So thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Cheers,
All
man.
right.